A movie that helped us realize that we have absolutely no idea what a coroner actually does. Jamie,
Yeah.
let's go watch Night Shift. It's not a horror movie. It just has the title of one. Everybody, welcome to another episode of Good Times, Great Movies. We're an 80s movie podcast, and every other week we watch a movie from the 80s and then we talk about that movie.
And we do.
My name's Doug McCambridge. I'm one of your two hosts, and with me, as always, in a fur coat pretty much all the time.
Yeah, and my bad perm.
All right, okay. Do we have to drag Shelley Long already? We haven't even started talking about the movie. Her hair's not good. Shelley Long does not play a good prostitute. I'm just going to come out and I'm going to say it. I am not buying her as a prostitute.
She's Henry Winkler's prostitute, though. She's a perfect prostitute for Henry Winkler.
Yeah, no, that okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to think, like, because I didn't really grow up with Happy Days. It was on when I was like a real little kid, but I didn't watch it. But I know that everyone knows him as the Fonz, but I mostly know him like from his later bit parts in movies, and I feel like this is the character he plays all the time, like kind of a schlubby dude. He's never cool outside of Happy Days, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't know that he was. Well, I don't know. I don't follow his body of work as much.
All I can think of right now is The Waterboy, and that's kind of sad. Like, if that's all I can think of is The Waterboy and Happy Days.
Didn't he direct some stuff, too? Didn't he dabble his foot in some behind-the-camera magic, maybe?
He directed something, I believe, that we covered, and we were amazed it was directed by him, but I can't remember.
Look at us chronicling. Chronicling.
Jamie, I think I should be fired from my own goddamn podcast right now.
Yeah, why? What was it?
I'm so embarrassed I did not know he directed this movie. A Smoky Mountain Christmas! Mountain Christmas!
Oh, you should hang your head in shame.
I am so upset.
Oh, you have a real love affair with that movie.
I don't even want to talk about this anymore. I'm so embarrassed.
I think you should shit your pants. If you haven't already.
If I should do it now as punishment to myself.
Yes.
All right, okay.
Would you rate that as one of your top, definitely top 5 movies that we've done?
Oh, definitely top 5 movies that we've done, yes. Yeah, 100%. There's that. There's Sleepaway Camp. Maybe Cat People the more I think about it. And then we could figure out the other two. I'm not so sure.
We got to take you to Dollywood. You got to see.
I don't know.
That's where
I'm afraid. I'm afraid. I don't want anything to ruin this for me.
I don't think it would. Okay, I think it would just enliven and heighten it all the more.
All right.
Yeah, because it's her actual cabin.
Right. Yes.
That she grew up in
would be thrown out of Dollywood for going into that cabin and trying to sleep in the beds and stuff, which I assume you're not allowed to do.
No, but
they have velvet ropes up in Dollywood, so you don't use her rotary phone or anything.
They didn't even have. All right, we're off topic already. We're Smoky Mountain Christmas, and that's not where we need to be. I mean, guess we do.
That's where I need to be.
Henry Winkler.
I want to meet a witch.
You do. You want Christmas to come to you and the 5 kids squished together. And was it 5 of them or 6 of them?
I think still it was 5. Remember watching that going, I had no idea this was going to be like a Snow White story. That was the most shocking thing about that to me, was that it was a Snow White story with Dolly Parton.
It was a Christmas fairy tale. And with little Dolly Parton singing along.
Homeless children, one of which was on Salute Your Shorts. We're not here to talk about this.
No, but you can. You want to.
Yes, I do. Not that I listen. I'll talk about Night Shift. I don't
Yeah,
have
that's
anything really
what we
negative
had
to say
planned.
about it, but
But if given the opportunity, oh boy, will you talk
Dolly
about
Parton's
Smoky
not in
Mountain.
it.
No, but she would have made an interesting choice for the prostitute.
I think Lace is still messing with us a little bit.
I think maybe.
Shake off that lace.
I just want to smoke a cigarette and talk in a terrible accent for the whole podcast.
That's what, you know what this movie needed? Accents. I didn't know where we were. Were we in New York? Were we in Chicago? Were we in LA?
We were in a city. We were in a city.
Okay,
I think it was New York.
that narrows it down.
Based on her
Minneapolis, done.
No, based on the fact that she was eating that bag of bagels. That's one giveaway. Because you don't eat bagels out of the bag like that unless you're in New York. Plus, I think, yeah, we were in New York.
Okay, all right. You seem very sure of yourself. I don't know where else it would be. They appeared to only be able to shoot at night, like only had permits to shoot at night.
Night Shift, titular.
Oh, were you excited at the amount of times Night Shift was spoken by characters within the first 2 minutes of this movie?
And there's even a song. There is even a titular song. Yeah.
All right, okay, let's get into it because we are here to talk about Night Shift from 1982, directed by
Ronnie Howard,
who he directed something else that we talked about, right? He directed Gung Ho.
He did. It's another Michael Keaton feature.
Another Michael Keaton joint, which I feel like Ron Howard movies, and I guess I don't know a lot of Ron Howard movies. Like there's Backdraft, and then he did a lot of other ones that I'm not sure of. This and Gung Ho have a very similar feel to them. They're very, I mean, this is about prostitution and has many, many naked ladies, especially near the end. What a weird thing for this movie to backload with naked women.
We need boobs. We didn't have enough boobs in here.
Yeah, it's almost like they got to that point where like, we forgot. Sometimes women get naked if they're prostitutes. But for a movie like this, it seemed like this is rated PG, right? Like the whole time through this, I'm like, I know they're talking about prostitution, but there's nothing really scandalous happening scene to scene. They're not cursing a whole lot at all.
No.
And I feel like it's just a feel-good movie. Like by the end, it's just like, yeah, everything's gonna work out fine. Like this is a Ron Howard. This is his thing. Like everything. Maybe he got edgier later. I'm not sure, but it just feels like he's bringing a little Happy Days to this.
It's like the funfetti cake. It's like, you know how like the funfetti cake with the sprinkles and it's vanilla and it's better than just a plain vanilla cake because it's the funfetti cake. And you know everyone's going to be like, yay, it's the funfetti cake.
Okay.
We're going to enjoy this. But it's not like a chocolate mousse cake.
No. And all the funfetti colors had like sunk to the bottom of the cake too. Those are the boobs. They're all the way at the bottom there. So you're eating through this thing. You're like, this is okay, and then this is what I'm here for.
This is it. Right. Yeah.
I forgot it said funfetti on the box.
Next time I gotta mix it up a little better. Silly me.
I forgot it was called Night Shift, which sounds like a horror movie. Can I just say like that? Yeah. It has a horror movie title to it.
Well, and it was interesting. So it's Night Shift, and there's their partners. But they're police coroners? Is that their job?
Hey, what a great question. Because I don't know what their jobs are. Because I'm like, do they perform autopsies? Like, he's not a doctor. But they have to pick up bodies at the scene? That doesn't...
Only the first time. Only in the beginning do they pick up the body. There's no other times we see them.
No, but they have a hearse. As though a hearse is a thing that coroners have. And I'm like, no, those are people in funeral homes, I think. And also, don't paramedics pick up dead bodies at the scene? And like, they have to take... I don't understand, because it doesn't seem as though Henry Winkler needs any sort of medical training for this job. He worked on Wall Street, he said.
Yeah. And then he gave that up because he'd rather do this.
Right. And Michael Keaton, who would hire him? I don't know what that interview process was like. Like, you're clearly a deranged lunatic who cannot interact with humans.
So we'll give you the Night Shift with the coroner. You'll be his partner. Because he needs a partner. He needs someone else to, I guess, drive the hearse around. They don't work at their job very much.
No, they don't work. Mm-hmm. And I, again, am just unsure of what their job is.
I think they're city coroners. I think that's what they are.
But what does a coroner do? A coroner doesn't... Does a coroner do autopsies?
I thought so.
So did I.
At first, I think I tried to write, this will tell you, because I couldn't think of the word coroner. So I wrote autopsyist. But that's what he was. And then I was like, no, that's not right. That's not a real thing.
But Jamie, if you had gone in for a job interview at this place and said, I'm here to be an autopsyist, these people would probably hire you.
I could have been the day shift.
And what's with their little meat locker thing that's all wood paneled? Like, I was like, shouldn't this all be metal and sterile? And
I know.
It looks so comfortable.
Yes, it was wood paneled, and it was, I was confused in it. I thought that usually, and now I don't know, but I thought usually they were in the basement speaking of basements, I thought they were in the basement of maybe the police department, if that's where they're located. But they seem to have their own sort of corner office of the precinct.
I didn't even know they were associated with the police department, because I don't think you should have frat parties if you're sharing a rental space with the police department.
It's definitely let us know that it was a movie, that it wasn't based on real life. I mean,
as I said earlier before we started recording, this is not the documentary that I thought it was going to be.
No, you're not learning about the art of prostitution.
Do you know that there are people that get very upset if you say prostitution now?
Well, didn't they see how Michael Keaton wrote it down on the chalkboard and
you would figure
the word apart?
Enough.
And he's like, pros, that's like Greek for positive, and tit, we all know what that is. And Ushin, we don't need that part. I forget how he did it, but no, I didn't know that people will get offended by the word prostitution.
Now
because what is it? Sex worker?
Workers. Which to me sounds a little trashier. I gotta say, sex worker sounds trashier.
Prostitute sounds more of like a regal,
it sounds a little classier. And also, I always thought sex worker was just like you were lumped in, like prostitutes and porn stars were all sex workers.
Oh,
and I feel like wouldn't you want to
distinguish yourself a little?
Yeah. I don't know. Jamie, I say we bring it back. I say we bring back the word prostitution.
Why? I want to know what they have against it.
I don't know. Because it is from the... Well, I mean, Michael Keaton was kind of right. I think you do break it down into two Greek words. And none of them are like whore or whatever. So I don't think it's bad.
So whore and slut, that's not going to work.
Probably not.
Okay.
Plus,
sex worker...
whore is prostitute. Slut is not. That's very different.
I guess that's true. A slut is just someone that does it because she likes
Jamie,
it.
Anyone
but
can be
the
a
whore
slut.
does it for money.
Right.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm glad we got to the bottom of this.
Me too. And that's some info from Good Times, Great Movies that maybe you didn't know. Maybe you did. Maybe you have a different idea of a slut versus a whore versus a prostitute versus a sex worker. And maybe you'd like to share that idea.
Perhaps you wrote a dissertation or something. Maybe you can link us to your YouTube channel where you talk about it.
Where you dissertate about it.
Well, are we avoiding talking about night shifts? I'm really unsure right now.
No, we're just...
All right.
Skipping around it. All right, here we go.
And we do have to say this is a patron requested episode.
Oh,
Aaron,
Aaron.
Thank you. You wanted us to talk about it. You said it's not great, but you'd really like to hear our views on it.
Is that what Aaron said? It's not great?
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty much like, it's not the best. It's not Shakespeare. It's not Citizen Kane. It wasn't like, I don't really like this, but whatever. That's not really
okay. She was just saying this isn't like a masterpiece, but it's worth your watch and it'll fit because it does. I would say again, like a funfetti cake. It sort of fits the Good Times, Great Movies. I'm gonna keep that analogy going through this whole podcast. I'm gonna try to pull it in anywhere I can.
Okay.
Maybe I'm having a little craving for funfetti cake. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not.
But I hadn't seen it. I don't know if you
No, I hadn't either.
I'd never seen it. And I think part of that was it was 82. So around 82, I was too young to watch movies about prostitutes. And I feel like my parents...
as your parents were like, you better pay attention to this. And you kept falling asleep. You were like, I'm
needed
3
my
years
nap.
old. I can't. Listen, I need to take frequent naps. I'll get to the frat party later when I wake up.
I do like Michael Keaton. And so
who doesn't? I don't listen. I have no problem with anybody that's in this movie.
Not a problem with anyone.
No.
What about that Richard Belzer
You
guy?
want to throw Richard Belzer in a movie that isn't Fame? Sure, go right ahead. You want to put a gun in his hand and people from LA Law were like, no, not LA Law. Law and Order.
Law and Order.
Yeah, we're like, oh, this comedian with a gun, I have an idea for something about 15 years from now.
I like how he sandwiches the movie, too. He's at the beginning and he's at the end. We don't see him in between.
No.
And speaking of, in the beginning, we see a pimp with a great coat and cowboy boots. We all know that the pimps wear the hats and the coats. I didn't know about the footwear, but this pimp in particular that we're following in the beginning has a snazzy pair of cowboy boots.
Not great for running, I'm going to just say.
No, not if you're going to be a pimp on the run, but I assume the pimps don't generally do the running. They, they're a little more...
No, unless you're chased by Richard Belzer, who plays, I'm not sure why he's chasing these pimps down. I'm not even 100% sure. It's never fully explained because we always cut away to Michael Keaton when stuff is kind of being explained.
I think what's happening is that it's another pimp. Like they're infringing on each other's pimp business. So that's why this pimp has to go. So Belzer and Richard and he's with another gentleman.
I thought it was
it
was a mafia sort of thing. Like this is our town. Because when they talk to Henry Winkler later, they're like, hey, if you would have come to us earlier, we could have worked something out. So I thought it was
and they do drive a Cadillac, very mafia.
Right, yeah. Like, I thought it was hey, we will allow you to do business in our area so long as we get a certain percentage and stuff like that.
That might be right. Whatever it is, they want a cut of it. That's why I thought maybe it was like dueling pimps. But maybe you're right. Maybe it's more mafia-based.
I also like to think that Tarantino saw the beginning and this pairing of Richard Belzer with some black guy, and that's when he had the idea of John Travolta and what's his name for Pulp Fiction. Yeah, because they are like they're dressed kind of nice, and it's just they're chasing people down and taking care of business and all that. So yeah, it was pretty great because what I love about this is you see this guy running and he's being chased, and then you see two kids, adults, one guy, one woman. I'm not sure. Playing basketball?
They're not quite adults, but they're not little kids.
Okay. All right.
And he, she, they. I don't know the pronoun they would use, but
I didn't mean to bring up the prostitution thing and get us all thrown off into using pronouns. I wasn't sure. I knew the one guy was a guy, but then I was like, oh, is he playing basketball with like his sister or something? I wasn't sure.
Well, we don't see them again, but they are playing basketball. And
we do see them after the incident at the beginning of this.
After the incident?
Well, so this guy runs up to his apartment. He thinks he's free and clear.
Right.
There's no way that Richard Belzer, who was way behind him, could have possibly come up to his apartment and turned off the lights and hid while he was clearly making his way there. But when he turns on the lights, of course, Richard Belzer and partner are there. Mm-hmm. And they throw him out a window.
And then he slow-mo falls.
Oh, it's really great. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's when I kind of thought, and I don't know if it was like a scared thought or an excited thought because of Jumpin' Jack Flash, when I was like, oh no, is this going to be a bunch of comedians in like a life or death movie?
Yeah.
Like, I really thought that's what I was in for, and I was like, maybe this movie's more edgy than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
But what I thought was funny about this is this guy falls out the window and then is killed, and then he cuts back to these two basketball players, and the one guy says, I was right, pay up. And I was like, did they bet that he would be murdered or thrown out a window, or what was this bet that they made when this guy ran by?
I think because before the body falls in, doesn't he make the hoop? What do you call it in basketball? Shot?
Wait, you thought they were betting on that. I thought they were betting on whether this guy was going to be killed. Because it's after he's killed and they watch it that he's like, pay up.
Yeah, you may be right. You may be right. Maybe a little bit of both. I bet I'll make this shot and then that pimp gets killed. No, not if both of those things can happen. Oh, yeah? We'll watch.
Yeah, his sister's like, what are the odds of both of those things happening? I mean, maybe he can make the shot, but there's no way that random guy that we just saw is going to be thrown out a window.
and fall into the hoop. Amazing.
Little does she know her brother is an informant for the mafia, and he called ahead.
He knew. He was like, yeah, he's on his way home. And I'm going to make a bet with my sister and win $5.
So this is the first point in my notes. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
where I wrote, I am all in on this movie.
Oh.
I was all in. Like, this
opening let you know I could do this.
Yep, this is a cold opening, and I was like, whoa, young Ron Howard doing some edgy stuff right out of the gate, and this movie's about prostitution and a morgue. I cannot wait to see where this goes.
You're buckled in. You're ready to go. We get our titular song, Night Shift, for the opening credits. I was in for that. Here's
another thing. This song started, and I was like, this sounds like Harden My Heart. It sounded just like it. I was like, this is crazy.
Night shift. Yeah, you're right.
I'm gonna harden my heart. And I was like, this is insane. I was like, Quarter Flash has a lawsuit on their hands and everything. And then the credits roll. It's Quarter Flash singing this theme song.
They just have one beat that they like to drop.
Yes, I was like, why would you rip off your own song for another song? It was really crazy. The music in this is wild.
Oh, yeah.
We will get into That's What Friends Are For later, but I could not believe how much that is played.
How overused it is, yeah. After our credits, we get to meet our Shelley Long. Belinda. Are you going to use their names or are you going to use their actor names?
I got to use their actor names. I'm sorry. Right. You can use Belinda. Listen, if you say Belinda, I'm not going to be confused as to who you're talking about. There's one woman in this movie.
There's only one, yeah. She is Belinda. He is Chuck, and she's a sassy little prostitute. Yeah. When the guy says, do you know him, this guy? She goes, yeah, he's my Avon lady.
I'm sorry, Jamie, did you say, do you know this guy? Or did you say, do you know this guy, Franklin Delano Roosevelt?
Oh, yeah, that's right. That was his name, Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
It's a great pimp name.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I like how she's all sassy about, yeah, he's my Avon lady, blah, blah, blah. And she's basically just there to identify a body. And the cop that's there is talking to Henry Winkler, and he's like, are we going to believe her? She's just a whore. And I'm like, dude, first of all, calm down. Second of all, she just identified the body. Like, that's all you brought it down here for.
And she doesn't look like she's not like a cracked out prostitute.
No.
She's pretty much put together. She's got a nice apartment in the same apartment building as Henry Winkler, we find out.
Is that her apartment or is that that cowboy's apartment?
No, it was her apartment. You did get the pimp's name, and that's amazing.
I did. I also wrote down that the cop said something like, I hope he's having fun in pimp heaven. It was like, pimp heaven? That sounds horrible, first of all.
That's the cop, the mean guy that was mean to her. Yeah. Well, Winkler's not, though. Winkler is very sensitive, or Chuck is his name. Chuck is very sensitive to her and is like, she's just a woman. She's just doing her job here. I don't know what makes him show. I like the ongoing joke. This poor actress who plays his wife, who is supposed to be this fat, ugly woman, and she's not. She's a fine-looking woman, and she's not at all overweight.
For a hot second, I thought it was Karen Allen. Just for 1 second, I was like, oh, it's Indiana Jones's girlfriend. But I was like, no, that's not her.
No.
I did notice. This woman looked kind of familiar, and I'm not saying this is where I knew her from, but I looked through IMDb, and the only thing that stuck out is on a handful of episodes of Seinfeld, she played George's therapist.
Oh.
And the moment I remembered those episodes and stuff, how he had that jacket and he couldn't get it unzipped, and she was screaming at him while he was trying to unzip it and all that stuff. I was like, oh, yeah, that's who that woman is.
Yeah,
but you're right. No, she's not overweight. She's also not, like, overbearing or a horrible nag or just a horrible person.
But
I mean, she has issues.
She's got some issues, and their relationship. But like in this scene, he shows a picture of his wife. He says, "Oh, I have a fiance." Oh, because this is when Belinda brings up, "You look familiar. Why are you familiar?" And he kind of gets startled. Henry Winkler, Chuck does, and he's like, "I don't need your services. Look, this is my fiance." And he says right away, "It's not a great picture of her. She's got a lot of water weight in this picture." And then even later, when Billy Blaze looks at the picture of his wife, he goes, "Yeah, that's a nice frame." He doesn't say like, "Oh, your wife's attractive," or "She has great."
It was crazy because I was like, What's wrong with this lady?
I know.
Later, I'm like, What's wrong with her? But there are some funny things about her constantly wanting to lose weight and everything
Right.
like that. Like it's a funny little thing. And also in a movie like this, and not to jump too far ahead, in a movie like this, you know that you have to break these two up. Like
Right. So
you
you
know
gotta
that he and
give.
Shelley Long are going to end up together, so you have to break them up. And a lot of times in movies, they do it in like a horrible way where you're like, that was pretty terrible, this character, to like break it off or whatever.
Right.
This one didn't seem bad because I was like, he was arrested for being a pimp. Like, I
Yeah.
totally understand why she would probably break off this engagement. Like, it was good. They didn't paint her to be as horrible a person as I think they could
No,
have if
they
they
just
wanted
gave
to.
her some neurosis and some hang-ups, and even those were funny.
Her
But yeah,
hang-ups, her bedroom hang-ups were great.
yeah.
When he had to check the apartment to see if there was anybody there, I loved that. I also loved how when she was in the bathroom, she's like, I'm fat, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, why don't you run to bed? You could burn a few calories.
And then I thought they lived together, but they don't.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
When Shelley Long's making breakfast, I'm like, she could walk in the door in a
any
second now.
minute, right?
Like,
You
what
gotta
are
make
doing?
breakfast for all three. What's happening? Yeah.
They have a little conversation while she's on her exercise bike and all
Oh
that.
yeah, that crazy exercise bike.
Yes.
Him and his fiance have a little conversation, and she's on this one of those weird exercise bikes where it moves the arms and the legs at the same time. And she's wearing, which I remember this, it was a thing where you would wear like these full, not a sweatsuit, it was almost like this like trash bag material that she was wearing to help her sweat it out, I guess.
Yeah, like a tracksuit made out of stitched together garbage bags.
Yeah,
Yes.
to help her sweat it out, I guess. But yeah, they have a conversation. This is when we're getting to see how neurotic she is about losing weight. They have a wedding planned. There's not much planning we see about that wedding, and as we said, that doesn't come to fruition.
But the whole reason they're having this conversation is because he's being moved back to the night shift.
Yes.
He started on the night shift, finally worked his way up 2 days, I guess, and
Yeah.
then he needs to go back to night shift, and his boss kind of kicks him around a little bit. And
Just like she has her neuroses and her weight issues, he has the issue of being too nice, never standing up for himself. So when his boss comes in and is like, listen, you're no longer the day shift, we're going to give you the night shift. He doesn't even argue with it, and he even says, well, this guy that you're giving my job to has your same last name, and it turns out to be the boss's nephew.
I do like how the boss goes, I don't know, I think he's my nephew or something.
Yeah.
So he's not even sure.
No.
Yeah, he gets thrown back to night shift, which it's not ideal. I never really worked night shift, but there is something, I don't know, just to do it for like a year or two, I always wanted to
Have that.
see what it felt like to just work nights or something, just to do something different. But I know, listen, you're getting married, you're trying to start out life for yourself. It's probably not the best time to be working
Well, and we
nights.
do a little bit of that mental switch with him where he's taking the train or the subway into work, and he's going on the train when everyone else is leaving. Yeah, so we see him sort of have to deal with some of the... And she says, well, now I won't see you during the day. He only has one night off for their lovemaking escapades because he works all the other nights. He has got all these, just like she, again, has all these things. He has all these odd things that keep happening to him throughout this movie. And one of them is this dog that is loose in his apartment building.
It's like a random stray dog that just wanders the halls of his apartment
Belongs to
building.
no one. And it's not like it's attacking him like when he's going in from the outside of the building. He is already in the building at his door, and this security style dog, like this rabid dog, comes barking. It happens throughout the movie where it chases him into the house or into his apartment. Oh, another weird thing that he does every time he goes in the office, he's again replacing the day shift worker. He comes in as the night shift, and the day shift worker is this
it's just
this
a kid.
this
He
jabroni.
reminded
Yeah,
me
he
of
doesn't really.
Vinny Del Pino from Doogie Howser.
He does it well. He's watching the cartoons the one day. There's always crumbs all over he's like, oh, I mixed up the bodies. But when Winkler comes in and gets ready, or when Chuck comes in and gets ready for his night shift, of course he cleans off the desk and cleans the crumbs off. But he also stores a plant in his locker, and not like a little cactus plant.
It's like a tree.
Yes.
Yeah. He has to
huge
move
ficus.
this tree into position. It's really like his routine of like, I'll sharpen a pencil and I'll sit down, I'll clean everything up and all that. Yeah, it's very bizarre. Like the whole idea of sharing desks. I've never worked a job where I had to share a desk with somebody, but I could imagine it's very weird. Like you couldn't personalize it. You couldn't put up your own
You only can
stuff.
so much. Yeah.
Yeah, you had to like take it with you when you left or whatever. This seems like a job that's for kids. Like the way they portray, I was going to say morticians. That's not what they are. Like
Coroners.
it seems like this is a job for like high school students or something. Like it doesn't seem like they need any sort of training. They don't need to do anything. The most they need to do is to drive to pick up a body, it appears, and bring it back and put it in a storage locker for somebody else to dissect.
And like we said, we don't see them ever do their job except for the opening scene. That's the only time we ever see him. We just know that he goes to it. And maybe it's because I would think more people the bodies are found more during the night, but for a night shift worker, he doesn't see a lot of action.
I didn't think about this until right now. That's the only time we see a dead body in this entire movie. A movie that takes place
even when they open the drawers.
In a morgue.
Yeah.
There's no. Anytime we open drawers, there are either people having sex in it, or it's just Michael Keaton hanging out.
I'm crying. Yeah, that was a good one. When he's so sad, he keeps listening to that recording over and over again.
Yeah. Like, I thought there were going to be funny things with dead
Corpses,
people and prostitutes. Yeah. Like, I thought there were going to be more gags like that, but there's nothing because there's no corpses in New York City.
Work is slow. And he should be grateful because then he could start up his prostitution ring.
Is this before or after Giuliani just put all the homeless people out to sea? Is that...
This is when Koch was mayor, right?
Yeah, all right. So it was still pretty bad.
This is when we get to meet our Billy Blaze, our Michael Keaton, who comes in a Billy Blaze. First of all, I feel like he wanted to be in Jumpin' Jack Flash. Like, what is it that he's singing that song? Like, he loves that song.
He loves that song.
He's singing it offbeat, from what I can tell.
Yep. Sings it when he goes in here. Sings it later on when he's getting in the car, and then he's singing it when he's picking up the ladies, and it's like, in this movie at least 3 times.
Yeah.
Did the Rolling Stones have some deal with Hollywood in the early 80s where they were like,
I think it was just
you
a
have
song
to use
that got him
our
jazzed.
songs in 20% of your films made?
I don't know. I think it's just a pump it up kind of a song, or at least for Billy Blaze it is. He comes in singing and dancing. He's got this fancy like tiger jacket on. He is off the charts ADD hyperactivity.
It's like we need to infuse some serious crazy into this movie right now.
Yeah, we're a little too laid back.
And I was into it because the one thing I'm going to really say is in this movie's favor is in a movie that really only has 3 main actors in it, they take their time to establish their characters, and I really appreciated that. Like, we don't get into a prostitution montage till more than halfway through this movie. It takes them forever to get into the prostitution business, but it wasn't wasted time. Like, I was enjoying all of this. I was enjoying the characters playing off of each other. Like, anytime we ran into Shelley Long, I was like, oh, this is really nice. Like, this is a nice interaction. I'm not going to spoil my thoughts after the prostitution montage, but I really like the fact that it took its time getting to what this movie's supposed to be about. It was not boring.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Well, and it's definitely not boring if Billy Blaze is on the screen.
No.
Because he is action-packed. He talks about... So his thing, again, each of the characters have very defined things. His thing is he's constantly talking to a tape recorder because he considers himself an idea man. One idea he has right off the bat is reduce trash by having edible paper.
Yeah.
Not a bad idea, mind you.
No. Not a bad idea. I mean, there is a lot of stuff in paper, I guess. Like, I'm just thinking about all the other trash.
Edible paper.
Sure,
or even chewing gum. Make it chew anyway. But I could get behind some of his ideas.
No,
is what I'm saying.
could too. His ideas they range from really good to absolutely ridiculous and super stupid.
But he's a wild man. He's like, he kind of reminds me a little bit of, like Charlie Day from Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Yes.
Like, he's just like this goofball, crazy, up for anything. And
he's basically like an 8-year-old. Like he's just like when he walks in, he's like, "What's that thing over there? What's this over here? Hey,
Yeah,
what's your name?
yeah.
I have all these great ideas. What do we do? Do we drive around? Do we just pick up sniffs? Is that what this
Yeah.
job is? Hey, I'm gonna knock over your pencils here." He's all over the place,
He is.
and I was like, "This character's way over the top. He's playing this at an 11." And again,
But it works.
I was into it.
Works.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love it when he's like, well, "Where's our boss? When do we see him?" And Winkler's like, "No, the boss doesn't come at night." He's like, "No boss? That's radical. This is amazing. This is going to be the best thing ever."
I do love how he did say radical. Because he says, "It's just me, you, and the stiffs here, all alone at night? That's radical." This is after he pulls up the things at the end of saying, "That's radical. Whoa, that's a dead guy." I just found it amazing. He is so good. And this was like his breakout role. Like, he did a few things before this, but this was really where the industry sat up and went, "Hey, maybe we should put this guy in everything until 1990.
He's just a buttload of fun, and he is. So there's our Billy Blaze introduction.
Yeah, so they're getting into their thing. I guess we should talk about his wife's bedtime quirks, I'm going to say.
Well, we mentioned she's got these body issues. She's very sensitive. It's not just for the wedding. Like, it's not your typical, I'm a bride and I want to be fit for my wedding. She has some pretty ingrained, but then we meet her parents and we realize probably later why she has such issues.
Do you think that they wanted to cast an overweight actress for this? But, like, she did such a great job in the auditions. They were like, we got to hire her. Because you're right. At one point, she's wearing a trash bag. The next time we see her, she's just under covers. And then in jail, she's just, like, it's dark. And the camera never, like, cuts below her shoulders. Like, I'm sure this woman is in wonderful shape. And they're like, I don't know. We'll cut around it. We'll figure it out. Who cares?
Well, I think I want to. I mean, I think it would have been funny. I don't know. Would have been played differently if she was really overweight.
Sure.
I think it just showed what just the neurosis, just how crazy each character, including herself, is. Surprisingly, the prostitute Belinda is probably the most sane out of them all.
Yes.
With the least amount of issues, believe it or not.
No question about that. We never get into when we get into sad Michael Keaton near the end. I was like, "This is not what I want. I don't want this
issues."
I don't want this in this laugh riot of a movie. What are you doing? And isn't it Christmas? Like, can't we get a little bit happy?
Yeah, but then they are wearing those weird masks and they go to the cemetery and it makes up for the sadness. Anyway,
does it? Does him buying a headstone for his dead father make up for the sadness?
Well. Okay.
Or does it just become more sad when they are surprised by this and he goes, "You're surprised that I bought a headstone for my father?" And I was like, what am I watching right now? I don't want to be sad.
I'll let you know how sensitive Winkler is.
No, I know. I get it.
And how very lonely.
This movie doesn't track like the way that most movies do. Because very early on when he and Michael Keaton have a blowout and they're like angry at each other for all of 5 minutes, I was like, boy, they got the end of the second act in really early in this movie. I guess from now on, everything's going to be roses and sunshine. Not quite. They have a few blowouts. So.
Yeah. Well, okay, so back to her sex issues.
Mm-hmm.
What does he say? Okay, so they're trying to get a little frisky in bed. It's his only night off to get this kind of action. Apparently, they don't live together, so they've got to get this going. It takes her forever to get out of the bathroom. When she does, then he's got to check the apartment to make sure nobody has snuck into the apartment.
I don't know. I guess so.
He says, probably because you're so nervous, you never have an orgasm. And she slaps his mouth shut. Don't say that word.
His own mouth. It's really great.
Yeah, don't say that word.
Mm-hmm.
And then they get it once they're about to get their little intimacy on. Now they get interrupted again because the neighbor's music is too loud. So she makes him go and complain on the neighbor's music door the neighbor's door about the music. And when he does, he's greeted by a giant man with a cowboy hat and just underwear.
Right.
And
yes.
He right away, Henry Winkler's like, "This is a mistake. I'm not here to say anything. I just was mistaken." And who pops out? But also his wife comes up behind him and is like, "You need to tell him to lower his music." And then behind the cowboy in the underwear is Belinda, Shelley Long.
Yes, exactly. It is kind of funny because his wife doesn't say lower the music or whatever. She says, "Did you talk to him about the music?" And he goes, and he looks at this guy and he goes, "The music, I love the music. I was going to ask you who it was, just so maybe I could buy a copy. And then you're right, Shelley Long comes out, and she kind of like handles it, and she's like, hey, it's me. Remember the prostitute? Remember I saw you at work, and this is where I saw you. We must be next door neighbors, somehow never ran into each other before, blah, blah, blah. And they have a nice little back and forth, and you can kind of see where this is going. And then he goes back to the apartment, you know, to finish what they started, and she is leaving.
Yeah, she's already dressed. She's fully dressed. He's even like, when did you get dressed?
I do like how he says that. And I like how she's waiting for the elevator, and she goes, I cheated today. And he's like, you're kidding. And she goes, I had a Nestle Crunch bar.
Yeah. She can't mentally, she is so addicted to her diet that she's so stuck on that she can't even. She's like, it's not going to work anyway. We weren't going to do it anyway because I cheated today with the Nestle Crunch bar. And so there's no way I was going to be able to have sex.
Okay, now, sorry to get off of this because I want to talk about, this is the idea where I was like, Michael Keaton, that's not an idea. When he's talking about tuna, because Henry Winkler gets a sandwich. This is another running gag. He gets a sandwich and it's always the wrong thing.
Wrong bread, wrong sandwich.
Michael Keaton's like, why don't you just send it back, get what you want, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, no, they spit in your food if you send stuff back, and so on and so forth. And Michael Keaton goes, what if people just opened the cans of tuna and stirred in their own mayonnaise? I'm like, I think people have been doing that since the dawn of canned tuna. Like, that's not an idea, but the great idea is to feed live tuna mayonnaise. I think that is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. It made me laugh when I was watching this.
Pretty great, though, if you think about it.
Yep.
Just get the tuna right in, or get the mayo right into the tuna from the start.
This is where we have, of course, it's a Ron Howard movie, so his brother Clint Howard has to show up.
Oh, yes.
And he's a younger Clint Howard, so he doesn't look quite as weird as he ends up
He's still
looking.
a little weird and distinctively Clint Howard.
Yes. There's no hiding him. You put hair on him or what, you can tell it's him.
You know it's him with those deep-set eyes.
But this is where we find out that Michael Keaton has been taking the company Hearst to drive people around. Like he's an Uber driver, basically.
Yes. We find out about both. This is when we also find out that Henry Winkler was worked on Wall Street before.
Yes,
he says that. That was the first sort of confession is like, yes, I do this job now because I was high stress at my other job. And then, we find out that Michael Keaton is side gigging with the hearse and using it to basically Uber people around town. Again, business is slow at the morgue.
He's got a little like magnet that he puts on this. He has his own little logo, and he puts a little top hat on top of, I guess, the siren that's on this hearse.
Yep.
And he's really like, hey, dude, listen, I'll be back. It's not going to take that long. If somebody dies, they're not going anywhere, whatever. And he gives him a little bit of money. He gives him
$100. Yeah.
Either later that night or maybe it's the next day. This is when they finally have like a blowout.
I think because now we see where Chuck is he's just reaching his wit's end now. He gets to work. Right. And Leonard, the kid that's took his day shift, is there and watching cartoons and putting the wrong bodies in drawers.
I do like how when the kid packs up his tiny portable television, he goes, "That Barney Rubble, what a great actor."
Yeah, I thought that was pretty good too. But we see how disgruntled Chuck is. He hasn't gotten laid from his fiance. He's tried and is unsuccessful in that. He's going into this job that he's just not. And Billy comes into work and he is all pumped about his weekend. And he can't. Don't you want to know? Don't you want to know what I did? I had a great weekend. I can tell you about it. And this is when you're right. Chuck just snaps.
Because he has been learning how to count cards at work, and he talks about how he's going to go to Atlantic City.
Yeah.
And he's like, I got thrown out. They just didn't like the way I was playing. And he's like, well, wait, how much money did you win? He was like, well, I was down a couple $100.
Yeah.
And I got into it with the manager, and I took the watered down drink, and I dumped it on his head, and they threw me out because I was such a good card player. And he just has enough, and he's like, shut up. Nobody wants to listen to you. Please just shut up.
He says it into his recorder, though. He grabs Billy's recorder and says, it's like shut up,
note
Billy,
to self, Billy needs to shut his damn mouth or something.
Billy can't believe it. He's just trying to make friends.
Right.
And he goes and is laying in, like you said earlier, in one of the drawers where they keep the dead bodies, and he's just listening to that on repeat, the recording. Billy, shut up. Billy, shut up.
Billy's a very sensitive individual.
Very sensitive.
This is all it took to completely break him.
Well,
but it is a very. I mean, I don't know what this is like. I mean, I've worked in offices with multiple people, but I've never worked with a single person
right,
day in and day out. And he does say something like, fine, you know what? We're going to work. We can work like we're strangers. That's perfectly fine. We'll do that.
And well, he says, I don't know anything about your fiance other than her picture. You've never even told me her name, and I want to get to know you. And I like how he goes on, like, you don't think about me in all of this. Like, how do you think I feel? I don't have any friends, and I'm just here on the night shift, and I can't really meet anybody.
The whole thing, he dumps a lot on Henry Winkler. But Henry Winkler really is, like, this
He's
this
a
has...
nice guy, so he doesn't
It has
want
very
to...
little to do with Bill. I mean, Bill is like the cherry on top of this garbage, few days or weeks or whatever that he's been having. Right. So he does apologize. He tells him his fiance's name and everything, and he's like, listen, we can work together. It's great. We could be friends and all that.
I like it too when Billy goes, I even gave you $100. He's like, I didn't ask you to. He's like, I know, and that's what makes it worse. I did it because I'm a nice person.
Right. So they sort of patch up their relationship.
Yes.
And he goes back to his apartment.
Mm-hmm.
But in the elevator, he finds a
beat up
Shelley
Belinda
Long in the corner, just slouched in the corner of the elevator, and she has been beaten up. And he goes to help her. Mm-hmm. And the elevator door opens, and Jamie, who's standing there?
A young Shannon Doherty.
Yep. The youngest of Shannon Doherty's ever.
Yes.
And she and her entire Girl Scout troop decide...
They blow a whistle.
Yep. He is mugging her, and they decide to hit him with boxes of cookies.
Yes, they attack. Meanwhile, he's trying to help her. It's random. She's on the floor of the elevator and looks like beat up. And he's like, oh my God, I can't believe it. Where's your purse? His big thing is, let me get a handkerchief, I guess, to wipe the blood off her face.
I always have a handkerchief, so he's rifling to her purse as she's beat up in the corner.
Yeah. And you're right. Shannon and her friends think that he is the mugger, and they attack him. And now...
And this is also where I'm like, what time is it? Like, what time? Why are these Girl Scouts out and about in their uniforms when the prostitutes are just getting in for the evening?
What happens in this apartment complex between the stray dog that goes around and the random hours that the Girl Scouts keep and the prostitute with the nice apartment? I don't know.
Could have had a whole movie about that.
You could have.
Because now she's kind of taking care of him because he was beaten by boxes of cookies. He really seems to have taken this hard. Like... I couldn't imagine it hurts that much. But I
think he's more, his ego's kind of hurt, right? Like, he's like, I can't believe this is the first time I've ever gotten beat up. And she explains to him that the reason she's gotten beat up is because she doesn't have a pimp anymore. Her pimp died, and it's hard for... All her friends have been having issues because they don't have this pimp who usually takes care of these things.
The pimp, he just died. Perhaps natural causes.
Yes, this is because she then kicks him out. She's like, listen, I'm tired. You're going to have to go. Mm-hmm. She gives him an ice pack and then sends him on his way, and he goes. And I like it. He and Billy are then on the train and talking about the interaction that he had. And he's like, Winkler's concerned that, of her circumstances. And he says, I really hope they can find someone trustworthy to help them.
Yes.
And Michael Keaton is like, trustworthy? This is a pimp. They're not trustworthy, but they do dress really nice. So there's that going for them. Yeah, so Billy, this is the seed is planted.
Yes, he's got the idea is there. Mm-hmm. We should become pimps.
No, not pimps. Love brokers.
Right, love brokers. Sorry.
Yeah.
You're right. I don't want to besmirch the name of pimps.
No, well, because that's what they decide. They are not going to, because they, Henry Winkler's like, I can't be a pimp. And he's like, we're not. We are love brokers.
And this is really like where I'm watching this, I'm like, okay, now the movie's going to get started. This movie that I was promised, it's now going to get started. And Henry Winkler doesn't really seem to be into this right now. Mm-mm. But the next day, Shelley Long approaches him for breakfast dates. Like, we both get home at the same time.
Right.
Wouldn't it be nice if we just kind of like had breakfast together? We could just do this. Like, this could be a thing that we do.
She comes over feeling badly that she kicked him out of the apartment last week. She's a nice person too. And yeah, she decides, let's do this breakfast date. Now, I love it. There's a whole setup there. She starts to make breakfast and she's like, oh, does your window not open? Does your fan not work? And he's like, oh, the kitchen has poor ventilation. So next thing you know, she's cooking in her underwear.
Okay, because I did not know where this was going. I was like, are we going to have like a Goofy Grease Fire scene or something like that? I did not know it was, oh, it's so hot. I guess I'm going to take my clothes off to make eggs. Like, I did not see that coming. And I was like, what kind of wackiness is, oh, okay. The most skinny human being on earth, Shelley Long, is just taking off her clothes,
and she's got like day of the week underwear on. They're not sexy at all. They got like flowers or like they got little cartoon characters on them. They're just these cute little undies.
Oh, but Henry Winkler's eyes are bugging out of his head.
Oh, he can't. Like, he's fumbling all around. The fiance calls and he's like, "What do you mean I sound weird? I don't sound weird. I just got home from work. That's why I sound weird." Yeah, he can't keep his cool.
Why is Henry Winkler getting a bad haircut, and why is this scene in this movie?
I don't know what this scene is, but it's another scene to show you how Henry Winkler, like the guy's doing a terrible job giving a haircut. Henry Winkler's like, I don't know, is this the cut I get? And the guy's like, yeah. And again, Billy is at the haircut place, and he's like, what are you doing? Fix his sideburns. Fix this hair. He says he's getting a haircut because of the in-laws coming to town, so he wants to make sure to look nice for the in-laws.
I love it in movies when characters get haircuts, but there's absolutely no difference in their hair. Like the next scene, it's like, why did you make that a plot point? If he's not going to come out with like
buzz cut hair,
military haircut or something, I just find it very strange. I think
maybe the fun of, because Billy is in there, or Michael Keaton's in there, and he does kind of freak out at him and climbs over another customer and calls Chuck selfish. You're selfish. You're not thinking of me and Belinda and all this. And then he leaves and he says, I wash my hands and my feet of you. I wash my hands and my feet of you.
Oh, so I have a question about his fiance, because we haven't, we talked about her a little bit and everything like that. And we've been saying, a lot of nice things about her. What is with her beehive haircut that they give her when her parents are there? It looks horrible.
I think it's part of, because her parents are clear. I think she's from Minnesota or something, because she's gone for a huge part of this movie. And
is this because I just said Minneapolis earlier?
No, I think because he says something like when he bails her out, he's like, I thought you were in Minnesota or whatever. I think, and her parents fly in.
Minnesota? I don't.
And maybe that's where I don't know. But
you got it. That's it. Just a lot of O's and E's.
Oh boy. No, because her parents fly in for Thanksgiving, and she's gone for a huge chunk of this movie. And when she is gone, it's because I guess she's visiting them. And when they come in, we see they're a little tight. Like he's like, the dad's like, I don't like this city. It's too much going on here, and blah blah blah.
There's too much going on here. Give me the comforts of rural St. Paul.
Prefer that, yeah.
So they're about to have a nice dinner or whatever.
It's Thanksgiving. They're about to have, his mom is over. Chuck's mom is there. She's cooking Thanksgiving dinner.
We do track with holidays. You're right. Yes.
Yeah. So they're having this Thanksgiving dinner. Her parents have flown in, and they're definitely awkward. He's going to pour them a drink, and they're like, "We don't drink." And he was like, "We don't like this city." And he was like, "Maybe you would like the city if you would drink more." And they're about to sit down to dinner, and he gets a call from Belinda. She's in court, and this is usually when her pimp would help her out, and she needs some documents, she needs stuff from her apartment. She doesn't have anybody else to call. So can he please come help her? And he tries to discreetly tell his girlfriend or his fiance, like, I'm going to just step out for a minute, and I'll be right back. Next thing we know, the entire family, the dad, the mom.
How does it get to this point?
Even Chuck is like, or Winkler is like, we didn't have to all go. You didn't have to drive me. And her dad is like, well, I forgot this rental car. We're paying enough money for it. Might as well use it. The whole family goes to court.
First of all, listen, I am not in favor of lying to your bride to be. But if a prostitute who lives next door to you calls to help her with court issues, just tell her, hey, you know that goofy guy I've been working with? He got himself in a whole lot of trouble downtown. I just
Yes.
gotta go take care of this. Don't, your parents, I'll be back 10 minutes, 15 tops, and then you're gone for 3 hours. Whatever. Like, don't complicate this.
Yes. Don't mention that it's a woman and the woman happens to be a prostitute. He does keep saying, because they're like, why? And he's like, because she's my neighbor. I'm just helping out a neighbor who happens to be a prostitute.
When you're in court, don't make winky eyes at her the whole time,
yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Like, that's another weird
Well,
red
then the
flag.
court scene's the whole thing. So they get to court, and
Right.
like I said, the whole family packs in. It's like a Thanksgiving adventure. She right away says, I think she calls the guy full of shit or something.
Yes.
Right?
She does, because basically...
oh, no, she calls him an asshole.
Yeah, she has, given services. I was trying to think of a more interesting way to say that.
She calls it services. She says services were rendered.
Right, and he tried to take his money back too, which I think is weird. Like, it's not even like he didn't pay. He was like, "I need my money back now that we're all done with this."
Now that the services are done,
right?
And the guy's like, and she's beat me up, and the judge is like, I don't see, you don't look beat up, you look okay. And then he exposes his ass because I guess what she did was bite him in the ass.
Yep.
So the
great
whole
little teeth
court
marks,
gets to see
top and
his
bottom.
Yep.
Yeah.
The whole court sees not only his tushy, but then his other side too. And that's a thing. The parents are like, what?
Yeah, he's brought his in-laws, his future in-laws, and we're like, let's just stick around and see how this works out. He's like, there's a show possibly on the air by now called Night Court. It's hilarious. I'm sure this is a lot like it. Who's the Dan Fielding in this situation? Oh my God, I love Night Court so much. And I remember, it was on when we were kids. Mm-hmm. And I remember getting to a certain point in my life where I realized Night Court's a thing. Like, that's a real thing. Like, I never even knew that was a possibility, that they had to have court at night for, like, prostitution and stuff like that. But that's all Night Court was.
And awesome. On Thanksgiving. They'll even have it on Thanksgiving if you need to.
That's why I figured they would have Judge Harry, but he probably had off for Thanksgiving, doing magic tricks for his parents and stuff like that.
That's what he had to do. That's it. Well, this interaction, though, is what sort of breaks Chuck, though. Like, after he's sitting in the car and being belittled by his mom and the family is just a wreck, he goes to visit Billy at Blazeland, USA. His apartment has a sign on it.
Yeah, I wanted more of that apartment because I was like, this place looks like a lot of fun. And also I was like, are they just using Shelley Long's apartment as his apartment? Because I was like, everything else looks the same.
Well, yeah. But this is when Chuck is like, let's do it. Let's be love brokers. I need to do something. You're right. This life of mine is just a little too routine.
In a movie like this, usually it would be something more. It would be a bigger reason why he needs to do this. Like, he's in serious debt, or his parents' house is about to go into foreclosure or something. This guy's just like, I need a little spice in my life, man. Like, it really is just like, he seems to be doing fine for himself. He's about to get married, but he's just like, I need to shake it up. I need to live a little bit in my late 30s. Let's just do this. And I find that very interesting that they didn't have to, like, shoehorn in, like, you're about to be evicted, so you need extra money for something. It's like, let's just do this, you weird person.
So they're in it. Next scene we have, a whole bunch of prostitutes are over at the precinct or the coroner's office, whatever you want to call it.
And it's like you said, Keaton's doing his best Keaton thing, and he's putting on a hilarious presentation. And the girls, because Shelley Long brought all the ladies. I like how after his proposal goes horribly wrong, Henry Winkler stands up, and he's like, give me a shot here. And I love how Michael Keaton goes, do you need the chalkboard? I don't know why I thought that was so funny, but it really was. But his whole thing is, hey, ladies, pimps, they took like 90%.
Yeah.
He's only going to take 10%.
Yeah.
That's it.
And they're like, at first, the ladies are like, this must be too good to be true. We got to shake this.
He's also talking about like a dental and health plan.
Yeah,
like,
so he's going to get them health insurance.
Put while your head, like, relax.
No, he's going to do the whole bit for them.
Yes, because he does say, I mean, we knew he worked on Wall Street, but he does say something like, he goes, and I know how to turn your money into more money.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, like, the whole idea, I mean, listen, I don't know what pimps do with their money, but even if he's only making 10%, he can still make more on that 10%.
Well, he still makes coffee cans and coffee cans of cash.
Yes, you're right. He sure does.
Yeah.
It's not like he's investing it. They just keep it in coffee cans. So again, I don't know what he's doing. What numbers is he running?
Well, he does do his own Apple IIge spreadsheets.
Yeah. I mean, at least he's not there with an adding machine and everything. He's a little more advanced.
Shelley Long, he must have talked to Shelley Long about it beforehand, or Belinda beforehand, and she's like, this is a great idea, ladies. Let's go with it. And they do. It's C&B Enterprises is what it is. They're working it out. Billy sort of escorts the ladies where they need to go, gives them rides, and he packs his shirt with tissues and stuff to make it look like he's more muscular. And things seem to be going well, right?
It's our first montage of this movie. It's just them rolling in the dough. Everything seems to be working out just fine.
Mm-hmm.
Henry Winkler gets a big fuzzy pimp hat as a gift from the ladies. Because, and that's the other thing. Like, there's something about this where I was like, this almost feels like a separate movie. Like, you could have a whole other movie about these two ordinary guys starting prostitution on their own, and like their relationships with the girls and stuff like that, because these girls are really like, they like them and there's camaraderie there. We don't do a whole lot with that though, you know what I mean?
I know. Yeah, and they could have we could have had even more, like, just more of the interactions with the
like
the
a hilarious thing
things.
where a girl gets beat up, so then they have to pretend to be tough or something like that. Like, I would have really liked that, because I could see like Michael Keaton be like, so let's just get these ski masks on our heads and go with baseball bats. Like, I don't know. I feel like there's more room for fun to be had.
Right.
In this movie, and I've been having fun up to this point. I feel like this movie for me right now turns a corner, and
This is where it turns.
I'm kind of out from now until the end of the movie, to be honest.
This is when Chuck is like, I don't know if I could do this. My gums have been bleeding. I'm losing hair. He's popping Alka-Seltzer constantly. And the idea that these women are, he's allowing them to have sex with strange men and profiting from it. He doesn't know if it could sit well with him.
And to top it off, Michael Keaton is having a frat party in the morgue where the dead people are. There's a whole thing. They put Henry Winkler on a gurney and they're wheeling him around, and frat guys are, having sex with ladies in the, I'm going to call them corpse drawers. I don't know what they are.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's just a weird thing, like, to just be thrown in this movie. Like, it's weird that Henry Winkler's the only responsible one of this group. Like, there aren't any of those women that are like, this is a really good deal we have going here. Maybe we shouldn't have this party here at the morgue. I don't know.
It's a good time. They're all having a good time.
Sure.
Chuck does. He kicks them out. Then that's when he gets bagels with Beverly, and he's like, it was crazy. They were everywhere, and nobody listened to me. And she was like, well, this is when she said, he was like, they were in the morgue drawer, in the drawer. And she's like, well, people they have fantasies. Don't you ever have fantasies about? And she says one about the guy doing it with her in a helicopter above his ex-girlfriend's place. His fantasy is like, well, I wish I didn't have to check the apartment all the time before sex. And she's like, what are you talking about? This is then we get to see Billy's call. So again, Chuck is starting to get nervous.
Montage,
Yes, and Chuck is really starting to get nervous. Like, I don't know. I feel like this is gonna just end badly soon, and it's not gonna be good. Billy's like, what are you talking about? And he's in his car with the Rolodex and the tinted windows, and he drives past the cops, and he's like, look, the windows are so tinted they can't even see. And he's like flipping off the cops, and he's telling them, he's like,
it's all like, I put prostitutes in this car all the time, and I take them around. They have sex with dudes, and I'm making all this money. Oh, you're just driving away? Okay, no problem. Yeah.
He decides he's going to do Operation Chuck. where he helps Chuck find some fun.
But they have such a great time. They have a wonderful party, and they're all relaxing.
What is the deal where they get the girls a burger joint? What is that?
Don't know. Have no idea what you're talking about.
There's
honestly.
this scene where they're at this burger joint, and the one girl is like, I used to be the pickle girl here. And I guess he's invested their money into the burger joint.
Okay.
So now the girls own a burger joint.
Boy.
You don't remember that scene?
No, not at all.
Oh.
Wow.
That happens.
Did you watch like the uncut, unrated version?
I don't think so. I don't think so. Why would that be added? But anyway.
I don't know.
But now,
like, we've added the burger joint thing and scene of full penetration. We had to cut those for some reason in the original, but now we put them in for what's on Amazon.
I think it's just to show how well these ladies are taken care of by him. And like you said, they reciprocate because they buy a pimp hat for Chuck and they buy a new radio with a recorder on it for Billy.
Yes.
So I think Billy's gift was a little more thoughtful, but I guess maybe Chuck made mention of wanting a pimp hat. I'm not sure.
Or Billy was like, listen, Chuck's losing his hair. Maybe you want to get him a hat.
Yeah,
like,
cover up that balding.
He's getting a little self-conscious. He's getting married, in case you ladies didn't know.
Yeah. P.S. Belzer's back. Richard Belzer's back, right?
Oh, yeah. There is just a little bit of Richard Belzer here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Does anything significant come of it?
No, it's just mentioning
It's just like, remember the beginning of this movie?
Exactly.
Remember that there's possible tensions somewhere.
Well, and again,
here?
we were leading to this. Chuck had mentioned I feel like something's going to go wrong, and it's sniffing out. Now it's Christmas. This is when they get the gifts. So there's the Christmas party, and they're a little bit drunk. Everybody's having a good time, and Bill talks about his mean dad and his pretty mom.
My mom used to be pretty. She used to be pretty. I was like, this is so sad. What's going on?
What is happening? I know. He's like, my dad left when I was 2, or some kind of. And then they go, like you said, then they say to Chuck, what have you been doing with all your money? You don't do anything with it. He's like, no, I've done it. Come on, I'll take you to what I've done with it. And and they're all drunk, and they're at a graveyard, and he's bought a new gravestone for his dad. His dad used to have the smallest gravestone. Now it's got the biggest. It's great. This Michael Keaton's outfit when they're at this graveyard, he's wearing the Santa pants, and he's got this weird sunglasses and
like a weird those old doctor, bird doctor things.
Yes.
I didn't understand. I was surprised he was wearing Santa pants because I was like, I didn't see those earlier. But
no, he's just dressed like a loon.
I do like how he thought Henry Winkler bought a cemetery. Though.
Yeah, he's like, this is great. What another great business plan. It's a little full though. You could have bought an empty one, but yeah, smart idea. People die all the time, and we'll just bury the bodies. Yeah,
I would like to think in his head, he's like, this guy's so into dead people. He has a real hang up with dead people.
Loves it. Loves working with them. Wants to go into business about it.
This is when afterwards he and Shelley Long kind of hang out. They have their little. It's almost like their breakfast date because they kind of get together and they're talking and then they kiss and. I don't know if he professes his love for her or something, but it's a whole thing where finally he's like...
She calls him decent, and he's like, you really think I'm decent? This is when the That's What Friends Are For instrumental starts.
And it
doesn't stop.
It doesn't
now
stop
every scene is
just
underscored by That's What Friends Are For.
Wow. And like I said before, I think I was talking to just you and patrons, through the eyes of knowing that song now. It was so distracting. It was, I can't, and I don't know if you felt the same way. I was so distracted. Every time that song was playing, I stopped paying attention to everything that was happening. I would just listen to this horrible instrumental and be like, this is so inappropriate. It makes no sense. I was like...
Well, especially, this is right after their sex scene, allegedly. We don't see much. It is funny. So they kiss, and then the next scene is a totally made bed with a creepy doll on it. So they haven't had sex in the bed. They're curled up in the bathtub together. But That's What Friends Are For comes on. So you're like, are we trying to say that
it's like,
that this is a friendship?
This is what friends are for. Bathing with your friends. I get it. I understand what Dionne Warwick and Elton John were trying to tell me.
This is it.
But then, when you take it into context, that song was in 1985, 3 years after this, and this was just I could not believe it was just Rod Stewart had this song and made it for this movie. It's the weirdest thing that I didn't expect. And also just saying like Ron Howard was like, "Oh yeah, that's what Friends are for. This is a cool tune. Nobody knows the song, so I'll just play it through every scene, regardless of what's happening."
It goes. It goes with the scene. That's what these friends are going to do for each other.
I call my friends on the phone and I'm like, I cannot scrub my own back tonight. Can you come over and maybe just hop in the tub with me a little bit and, we'll take care of it. It's fine.
That's what friends are for.
It is what friends are for. Mm-hmm.
Oh.
I haven't been able to do it since COVID. It's been a shame.
I know. That social distance thing. Well, so now these two have hit their love connection, and the next day at work, Chuck comes in singing and dancing and so happy with life, and Billy notices. Billy's like, "Where have you been? I've been trying to manage everything, and you're late." And Billy notices that Chuck's in a vibrant mood. Belinda comes in late too, and he knows that the two of them have hooked up, but Belinda is still going to go to work. And Chuck is like, "What do you mean you're still going to go to work?" And she's like, "Well, what do you think this is? This is my job." And this is sort of sweet because then Chuck and Belinda sort of fight now because he's like, of course, a little hurt that she would choose to still do this. And she's a little hurt that he's misunderstanding everything. And
I think she's hurt that he at one point says, "Well, I'm not a whore." I think that might be the thing that hurts a little bit.
Yeah. Whores don't like to be called out on their whoreness.
Right.
Yeah.
It's very offensive. Don't say that.
But it's sweet. Billy takes her to the job, and they're outside the gig, whatever. And he's like, "You don't want to go up there. You're too sad, and I'll just take you home. And don't worry, he says something like, I'll just get the guy drunk, and I'll pretend that you were just there.
Yeah.
Too drunk to know.
I'll go up in a bit, get him drunk, it'll be great." I'm like,
yeah.
How far are you willing to take this, Billy?
Yeah, what's this act all about?
I do have to tell you, as we get there, remind me, I thought this movie was going to have a different turn for Shelley Long at the end of this. And I'm still not sure what she's doing at that place at the end of this movie.
Oh, at that weird...
In her big fur coat. I don't know why she's there.
It was her first day, and even she wasn't convinced she should be there. But now Belzer is back and in action, and he is ready to murder Chuck.
It's action Belzer in a scene that makes very little sense in this movie. Why are they trying to fill him with water? And what's happening? Why are they doing this? But Belzer shows up.
Where do they get the fire hose? Where do they get the fire hose?
I was like, is this embalming fluid? Are they going to just murder him with this?
I don't know.
No, it's a fire hose attached to the interior wall of this morgue.
They take him, and I love it. He's like, "Please, I want to be your friend." And Belzer's like, "It's too late for that." Yeah. They tie him up to some chair, and they're gonna cut his throat so the water could leak out, and they're gonna put a fire hose in his mouth.
No idea what's going on.
I don't know what kind of torture scene is happening. It's like waterboarding, but a whole nother level of it. In the meantime, Billy is at some kind of a nightclub and spots these two, what he sees, lonely guys with no women.
These guys are hilarious. Because literally we cut to two guys in the bar and they're like, "Man, we're terrible cops. We're the worst cops ever. Our undercover thing is not working. This is awful. I guess we're just going to have to be reassigned to something." I'm like, okay, well, I guess I know what's going to happen now.
And Billy approaches them and is like, "Hey, would you guys like some ladies? Let me take you to some ladies." And they go, and I don't know why these guys don't question or why it's not.
I don't know why they follow him for so long through this process. Because they're like, "Wait, we're at the morgue?" And he's like, "Oh, don't worry. It's awesome. Let me just get the keys. Oops, I can't find the keys.
Yeah, he's
my
like,
partner's
"Everything's
usually
locked."
here."
That's so weird. Yeah, I love it. He's stumbling around like, "Well, I don't know where my partner is. I don't know why everything's locked, but everything is locked." But P.S., this little fumbling incident kind of saves the day because now the cops come and they're able to save Chuck from the fire hose torture, and this Belzer gets arrested. And
I enjoyed this gunfight. I really found it hilarious because it was almost as though Ron Howard realized, I don't know how to direct an action scene because there's about 3 shots fired total, and finally Richard Belzer goes, "Okay, I'm done. I give up. I'm done." And his partner goes, "Wait, what? We're just giving up?" It's
Yeah.
almost as though the actors were unaware that the scene was going to end.
Because you're right. It's like we don't know. We don't know how to carry on from here.
No. And it really is like the cops arrest the bad guys, but everyone gets arrested.
Yes.
Of course, for,
doing all their
prostitute, I guess, but
yeah, they're running a prostitution little ring there. So they're in jail.
I guess the cops would find the evidence. I was going to say it's not like he brought them the ladies or anything. He was just like, there's ladies here somewhere, maybe.
Well, and now they know.
But I guess
that's
enough
trouble.
to yeah. All right.
Yeah. So, and this is when Chuck hits one of his lowest lows when he's in jail. He's like, and he's again angry with Billy. It's your fault. If I hadn't met you, I wouldn't be in this mess. His fiance shows up, and at first he's like so grateful. Like, I can't believe you flew back from visiting your parents, and you're such a great girl that you would be here to stand by me. She spits on him. Then he starts spitting on himself. And I love it because Billy's like, yeah, I don't know, he's got like Tourette's or something. He's not all right. It's
I liked before that how Henry Winkler, they're in a cell with a bunch of other, dudes and everything. And he's like, I wish I was dead. And some guy just walks up and goes,
oh, yeah.
Do you really want to be dead right now? I found that kind of funny.
And it's just creepy.
So they're eventually bailed out by the ladies. All the prostitutes bailed them out. And now they go to a lawyer's office, the mayor. I don't know where they are, who this person is, and really what's happening for the rest of this movie.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
It's not a lawyer, because at one point after they break stuff, he's like, I'm going to call my lawyer.
Yeah, he's like, I'm going to sue you guys.
This is crazy. Please explain what happens, because it is the most... I don't know how to get these guys out of trouble moment that I've ever seen in screenwriting history.
I don't know how to just end this now, how to get us like to the end. So they meet with this lawyer. I want maybe district attorney. I don't know. And the lawyer is basically like, well, it's an election year, boys. So you happen to be in luck. They just want to throw this under the carpet. We're going to pretend like it didn't happen. We're going to give you your jobs back. It's going to be okay. And
that's like everything about what he says to them. I was like, this is crazy. Like,
well, and Chuck is like, yes, thank you. I could get my life back. Billy is wearing this white turtleneck and has a tennis racket with him.
Was he wearing that in jail? Because I assume they came right from jail and he was not dressed for a tennis outing. He wasn't dressed for Wimbledon when they were in jail.
They had a minute, I guess, to change up. I don't know. But now they have a battle because Billy he's like, well, if we got them on the hook, if the state's willing to just wash it all away, we got to ask for more than that. Like, let's go big or go home.
You're not 3 girls at a Swiss high school whose teacher thinks that they're pregnant. Like, you don't have these people on the ropes. Like, we're willing to let you graduate. Yeah. You don't need to get out of gym class.
You don't need all A's. Just take the job back. Just go back to the life. And that's Chuck's old argument is, I just want my normal life back, my life before you. And now these two have another fight, but it's a drag out fight now where they're like breaking shit, and the lawyer's office, like I said, the lawyer's like, I'm gonna get my lawyer on you guys. And the girls come in, suddenly all the girls are there and are trying to keep them separated. Chuck is very mean. He says to Billy, everything that's bad is because of you, all the bad stuff is because of you. And we get more instrumental, that's what friends are for.
I was like, what? He just fought with his friend, that's what friends are for.
Yeah, it's more and more of that. And now it's kind of the aftermath. And we haven't seen Belinda or what happened to her when all this arrest went down. But the next thing we know, did we say Belinda's moving? She's saying her goodbyes?
She's moving out. Yeah, she's going to move out. She's going to get a condo.
Yeah, new job, same gig, though. She's like, I have a new job. He's like, oh, really? She's like, well, not really, but it's just
doing the same thing. It's just a different place. And she just mentions an address, and he's like, I've heard of that place.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I know it.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess. It's all in the same area, I guess. Okay, so he moves. She's moving. She goes on the elevator. It's a sad little goodbye where she kind of stares longingly at him. Ooh, who's that actor?
Vincent Chevalier, right?
Is that his name?
Is that his name?
Yeah.
I think that's his name.
With the sad eyes.
He's Ghost.
Yes.
He's
Yeah.
yelling at people. Like,
Yes.
not people, just Patrick Swayze, and he jumps
Just
on a
Patrick
train.
Swayze,
Right?
yeah. But he's a sandwich delivery man, and he brings a
The
sandwich to
most
Chuck.
angry sandwich delivery man that you could put in a movie.
Well,
This was
I would be too. You're delivering this little bag of sandwich.
Yeah, it's not even like a whole. It's not even like just a bag of chips and a drink along with
No,
it. It really
it's
is
literally
just
like a sandwich
And when
in
he
a bag.
opens the sandwich, I'm like, this really is just white bread with.
Yeah.
It's not
Why
even
did you get
toasted.
this delivered? Why didn't you just go and pick it up? But yeah, this is when
You were
Chuck.
just outside on the street. You probably walked by the place.
But this is when the change starts to ignite
Right,
in
yes.
Chuck. So the sandwich gets delivered, and it's not the right sandwich, and the sandwich delivery guy's kind of rude about it. He like smears the sandwich on the wall and is like, tough titties, like smears this mustard streak on the wall, and is like, yeah, this is whatever, it's your problem.
Yeah.
And Chuck freaks out at him, yells at him, is like, no, you need to clean my sandwich up. You need to get me my real sandwich.
It's not a freak out that I buy, because I understand you can't have Henry Winkler go from this, nervous, weird, nebbish dude to like a badass in the course of, 5 minutes in this movie. But like when he goes, you go there and you clean that mustard off my wall, I'm like, why isn't this guy laughing in his face right now?
I know.
Because he doesn't sound threatening. He's not even cursing. Like, have him just drop a few F-bombs.
He's just
at this
assertive.
dude.
He's just assertive, and he's never been
Okay,
before.
I guess
So
that's
he's
all you need to
assertive.
do.
Then the dog comes, and he tells the dog to go away. And
I
the dog
do like
scampers
the
off.
dog. The dog part, which I thought was a stupid gag through this movie, when he finally yells at the dog and tells him to go home, and the dog whimpers and walks away. I kind of found
That's
that
when you're like,
amusing.
this is why. This is why. And now again, we have another version instrumental of That's What Friends Are For, but this time it's a little more upbeat because Chuck's
Because
turned a
that's
corner.
what friends are for.
And now he goes to the new club that Belinda's working at, and this is quite a club. It's got like a
This is
pool in the middle
weirdest
of it. and-
thing I may have ever seen in a movie, and that's saying something.
Yeah, it's
There's volcanoes in the background.
mhm.
It's supposed to be, and I don't know if this
It's a
whole
gentleman's
place
club,
is
I guess.
caveman themed, or if this is just one floor, or if it's like Caveman Week and they have different sets that they bring out
who knows.
every week. It is very strange.
But this is when we do get to see a lot of boobies and
Yeah.
a lot of women hanging out in the pool and walking around, and it's mostly old men too that they're hanging out with.
Yeah, it's pretty much all old men.
Yeah. And we get to see Michael Keaton as the towel boy here. And he
Right.
swings in like a Tarzan towel
Yeah, I
boy,
did
which
like
I
that,
love
yeah.
that when he swings in. So he's got a gig here too. We don't see Belinda yet.
We don't see her for the longest time.
No, because now when Winkler arrives, he sees Michael Keaton pretends that he owns the place. Oh yeah, I just bought this place. It's my partner's over here.
Right.
Winkler's in a fury. He wants to find Belinda. Where is she? She's opening up all these doors to all these sex rooms where people are having sex, and he's like, where is she? I want to find her.
I do like how the whole time Michael Keaton's trying to stop him, and Henry Winkler's like, what are you talking about? I thought you said you owned this place. He's like, yeah, but I have partners. I have partners here, and I can't get in bad with the partners. They could cut me out of this. He's trying to stop him from just opening all these doors. It's kind of a fun sort of back and forth that they have here.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't find her because she's not there. Like,
No.
it's very bizarre. Finally, she does show up in her giant fur coat.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what I thought was going to happen in this movie. I thought time was going to go by, and he was going to realize that he's in love with her and that he should find her. And so
Yeah.
he was going to go to this place to find her and to break her out, as he does. But he was going to find out that she's just like tending bar or something like that. Like, I really thought that's what it was going to be. Like, that's how this was going to end.
Well, she does make a turn, though, because like you said, most of these women, as we mentioned, are topless.
Mhm.
She's fully dressed in her fur coat, and she seems apprehensive. She seems uncomfortable about this new gig.
First of all, how would anyone not feel uncomfortable? I was uncomfortable watching this,
Yeah,
Jamie. I was
right.
like, I don't even want to watch what's happening in this scene, let alone be there.
Well, a man hits on her and is trying to get his
Oh,
way with
yeah.
her. And then Chuck comes and sort of interrupts it and is like, hey, she's with me. Billy comes in and lands on him?
He tries to, like, jump on the guy and just lands on the floor.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about how I really didn't like the end of this movie, but maybe I liked it more than I thought. When Henry Winkler's threatening this guy, and he just goes, I'm going to give you till the count of 3. 1. And the guy punches him right in the face on 1. There's something about that made me laugh. But
fun, yeah.
He jumps in, falls down, hurts himself. Mm-hmm. The two of them, like, cradle Michael Keaton in their arms together and then kiss over him.
Again, that's what friends are for.
That is what friends are for. You're right.
Yeah, because they confess their love for each other, right? Here, I think. And Michael Keaton's in between them.
And then they, like, walk out of the place.
They push the club owner into the water first. Do. He comes and is.
And then they're yelling, Vice Raid, Vice Raid, Vice Raid. So people are running around and, like, falling through walls and everything on their way out. Birds are flying around. There's so many birds in this place.
Tropical. I don't know. That's what friends are for.
That is what friends are. And they really do. Like, they leave and walk down the street, and that's what friends are for.
And that's it, right?
Yeah, that's it. That's how this movie ends. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't.
All right. Night shift.
What did you think in the end?
In the end, I found it to be, I guess, kind of what Aaron was saying. Like, it's not a masterpiece by any stretch of the imagination, but it was enjoyable. It was fun. I see what you said earlier, how, like, yes, I was enjoying parts of it, and then parts, I can't even pinpoint, like, well, that shouldn't have been in there, or this is where it started to drag for me. It just, I don't know. I guess this is one of those movies I enjoyed. I had fun watching it. Like, even I told my husband, how do you not enjoy it? Like, it's Henry Winkler, Michael Keaton, they're pimps, and Shelley Long's the prostitute. And I mean, how do you not say this is a fun time? Again, it's like a funfetti cake. After you eat it, then you're like, oof, probably didn't need to really have a funfetti cake. Maybe next time I'll go for, like, again, the chocolate mousse.
I would say for the first half hour, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking, how have I not seen this? How have I not heard of this? I need to tell everyone I know to watch this. And then it became less and less interesting as it went. Yeah. Because I feel like it was just the same thing over and over and over again. And like I said, once it became a little less fun, once it got a little bit depressing, once we got into character sad backstories and stuff, I was kind of out of it. And then I think when they went to that lawyer or DA's office or something, I was like, I think I'm done. I think I'm done now. Like, we could just stop. Like, take your jobs back at the morgue and put up the end. Play That's What Friends Are For and roll credits.
And let me have a small scene where I see I want to see Belinda and Chuck at, like, the city hall getting married.
Sure. And yes. Done. Yeah. Yep. I did not need that caveman nonsense at the end.
No. It was a bit over the top. Yeah. But thank you, Aaron, because with everything, I am glad I watched it.
Yeah, I would not have seen this if it weren't for this podcast. And sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes it's a bad thing. And sometimes it's in the middle thing. Yeah. And that's what this is. This was a nice in the middle thing. Which is always fine. So I'm going to recommend a movie if I could. You were talking to me earlier. Maybe it was off mic, or maybe it was just for patrons. I'm not sure. You were talking to me about Fully Vaccinated or Not.
Oh, yeah.
So the day I got my second vaccination, I settled in for the evening to watch a movie. And there was an old movie. Surprise, surprise, I'm recommending an old movie from 1945 called Isle of the Dead, which I always heard was good. So I was like, it's a Boris Karloff movie. And I was like, oh, I'll watch this. I had no idea what it was about. So this movie starts, and this is around the time where I started feeling like, I feel kind of achy and like, maybe feverish and everything. This movie, it's just over an hour long. It takes place in 1912. And it's about a group of people that go to an island. Mm-hmm. And while on this island, they discovered that there is a plague loose.
Oh.
And one by one, they die. Like, that's what happens. But they can't leave the island because they don't want to spread the plague to other people on the mainland.
Oh.
But this whole movie is just like the amount of times they talk about, you better wash your hands. And they're talking about social distancing.
Never
in my life have I watched a movie and been like, this movie totally gets me right now. Like, it totally understands what is
perfect.
happening. Yeah, it really was. I will never forget this movie. It's not the greatest, but just because of when I watched it and the circumstances, like, I was like, I'll never forget this movie for the rest of my life now. So,
wow.
Check it out. It's awesome.
It sounds like a very timely tale.
The most
oddly enough.
So what about you? Any recommendations? Are you recommending people to have sex like you did with our last episode, but perhaps this time with prostitutes?
That was for different reasons, because I was helping to save relationships.
No, I understand.
Yeah. Sometimes I recommend yoga videos. Sometimes I recommend books. Sometimes I just give you a little life advice.
Sometimes YouTube clips having to do with Olympic bobsledding events. Okay. What do we got this time?
All right, I try to stay a little more mainstream this time, but I feel like I may have already recommended this because I enjoy this show, so I've recommended it to others before, and I may have recommended it already on this podcast. But the show Kidding, the Jim Carrey show, it was canceled after 2 seasons. It was a Showtime show with Jim Carrey as the star, and he plays this sort of Mr. Rogers character who has a mental breakdown. Personally, I think that Carrey does an awesome job. Catherine Kinnear's in it, and I love her. Oh, I forget the dude's name. I can't think of the actor's name right now, but he was in Weeds. He's in it. And it gets a little raunchy, but it really I think that it's a great role for Jim Carrey, and I think it's an interesting premise that this wholesome guy, this Mr. Rogers, I think he's Mr. Pickles is his character name, just breaks it down. And there's some interesting, because there's puppetry in there, and so there's some interesting and some songs that go along. And again, it's only 2 seasons, and I just read, when I was looking it up, I read that it was canceled because a lot of people didn't watch it. But I'm going to recommend that maybe you do. It's just 2 seasons now that are out there. It's a quick little watch. It could get heavy, even though it's Jim Carrey. It's not like Goofy Carrey, but enjoyable.
It's only heavy when he tells you that vaccines are harmful. Is that the only time it gets heavy?
There you have it. A real recommendation.
An actual recommendation of something you might be able to find.
Right.
Unlike the time that you recommended a movie that was never made but should probably be made. I think that was a documentary too. You're like, I don't think there's a documentary on this, but somebody should make it. So Jamie, guess what?
Yeah.
Listen, you and I have been trying to sort of put something together for the summer. So maybe we haven't really done some things that we normally do, which is for our anniversary episodes, we normally give some suggestions, or we like put 3 or 4 movies out there for the listeners to vote on. We didn't do that. We were so wrapped up with, I'm going to blame Lace again for taking all of our time and energy and thought away.
It was a whole mini-series,
Yeah. So we didn't do that this time. So I just got to pick something.
Yeah.
But like I said, we are working on something for the summer. We'll see how that works out. But it might be it's not going to be a summer of sequels again, because we don't want to do that again. That was a giant mistake. So for our 6th anniversary episode.
6 years. Beautiful.
I figured, let's do a big one. Let's knock out a big movie now. And let's talk about 16 Candles.
Wow.
It's the best I could do. It's the closest thing to some sort of
You worked it in there. You worked it in there. I like it.
That I could possibly come up with. And it is something that a lot of people have asked us to talk about, since we started this thing. And I know we tend to avoid bigger titles or movies we've seen before, because I don't know about you, but I just love to see different things. Like I agree.
Like this Night Shift was a great example of that.
And again, it's not to say that we can't talk about movies that we know. I really the more I think about it, the more I really enjoyed our Back to the Future conversation.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
for a movie we've seen probably dozens of times each, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was so much fun. So maybe we could do that with 16 Candles. But then, I'm not even sure I've ever seen it, to be honest.
I've never seen it.
Oh my God. Okay. Guys, we did it. We did it. I'm going to say we asked you to vote on a bunch of movies we never saw. You picked 16 Candles, and guess what? We're going to do it.
It's one of those movies that got under, like, I think I've admitted this too, that Heathers is another movie that I've never seen, and I always had to play off like I have because everyone else has, and I'm like, yeah, sure, seen it. So this podcast creates a great opportunity for me to.
You know what's funny about that? You want to knock out Shannon Doherty's 80s filmography on the show? We do Heathers and it's done.
Well, let's get that. We got to put that. We should put that one on the book.
There's a lot of TV movies on there, but her feature films, theatrically released, since we did Girls Just Want to Have Fun and now we did Night Shift, all we got left is Heathers for her. So,
all right.
Wow, I can't believe neither of us have seen 16 Candles. Or maybe I have. This could be something where I start to watch it and I realize, oh yeah, I saw this.
Same here. I'm a little afraid that maybe I haven't, but I don't think so.
I don't know.
What an actor.
Oh man, what was that movie? Just my favorite movie we've ever done on the podcast.